Right, we've got the new 515 Mag 4, which we've been waiting for. So we'll get them out and have a look, and we'll do a bit of a review just to let you know what it's all about. Straight out of the box, obviously the biggest difference is the magnetic control now. With the original 525s, they were a slidey. Then the Mark II and the Mark III, they've gone to a dial system, which works fine, but I've always tended to find, and I think a lot of other guys as well, is it doesn't actually give you that much control, especially I like to take the magnets off when it's actually going out, and with the dial system it's quite hard to do that, but obviously with this you can just wind them on and wind them off. The other advantage as well is you can go for a full cycle of the magnets in just one turn. The problem always with dials like you used to get on the old Abus is when you used to take the brakes off during the cast, it was quite easy to go a couple of rotations and you wouldn't know where to put it back to. So now you can do a full range of the magnets in just one turn. It's impossible to go too far. They look quite smart, obviously with the colour. It obviously doesn't make any difference in the fishing, but they do look nice. They've got one extra bearing in now. They come with 6 bearings plus the one in the handle. So when it comes to filling up, we probably might even feel a bit of difference in that. But the main difference will be in the casting and the smoothness of the reel. Apart from that, features are the same. Still got the same ratchet system. Obviously this is a 515. We've got the 525s as well, which is just a marginally bigger capacity, so it's a slightly wider spool, but the braking system and everything on that is exactly the same. I've always been a fan of these. They're pretty bulletproof, to be honest. For Chidzoy, even if you want to up the channel, I tend to use up to around about 0.35 lines on this. If I want to go heavier than that, then I'll up it to the 525, just so you make sure that you get the capacity, that's all. But they've both got the same amount of winching power, which I think is 6.1 to 1 ratio. So they're a high retrieve reel, so even if you use them on clean ground, but they are capable of using them on rough ground as well. So we're going to fill one up, get it all sorted, and then we're going to go for a cast and see if we can feel the difference and see how easy it is to adjust these brakes. But out the box they seem really smooth. You can even just turn the brake system to put it full on and put it and spinning the spool. You can actually see a difference just with the magnets setting them as they are now without even line on it, so you can see that it's making a difference already. So the signs are good really, so we'll give it a chuck and we'll see how we get on. Right, we've had it out of the box and had a look, so we're going to chuck some line on it, and me and Tom are going to take it for a cast at the prom. So we'll pop some line on it and we'll see you up there. That'll probably be enough for Tom, but because I'm going to have a cast, we'll fire a bit more on. Right, we've obviously filled the line at a reel, so now we're going to do the leader. So we're just going to do a little video to show you how I do it. I'm not saying it's the right or wrong way, but it's the same knot that I've used off the beach for probably getting on for almost 20 years now. And for clean ground fishing, that's all I use. It never let me down. People get hold of the knot and pull it hard, and obviously it's going to snap, same as any knot will, but you're going to struggle to put that much pressure actually through the rod onto the knot. So we'll give it a go. I'm using Trilene, good leader line. I use it for my rigs as well because minimal stretch. It's a good diameter for the 80 pound, and obviously it's clear as well, which I like for my leaders and my rigs. So for actually doing a knot, it's called a blob knot, and there's a few different names for it, and I think it originally started with tournament casters using it because it was a way to tie a knot very, very small. So you've got to sort of, the reason it's called the blob is you use the lighter just to heat up the end. And just press it on your finger, and what you're trying to create is literally a little flat piece. So you can imagine when you're going to tie the knot, it's actually going to slide down and sit against that. You've got to be careful with some lines. You can get away with this with. Some monos that are very soft you can't, because when you go to actually pull the line, it'll pull that little section off that you've burnt. So, but I know with Trilene, and there's other lines as well that you can do it with. So we'll get this tied on. So one knot, one line against the other, just hold them next to each other, and then with your main line, just twist your thumb and fingers as you bring it back to your other hand, and it'll form a loop. And then what you're going to do is take that tag end over and through that loop 5 times. So it goes over the top and through 3, 4, 5 times. So effectively you're binding those 2 lines together. So then if you pull it with your right hand to form the knot, give it a little pull and just form the knot using your finger, and then you can just wet it just because of friction, but you don't always need to do that, to be honest. As long as you take your time, don't pull it too hard. Pull it all the way down to your stop, and then it's just a case of trimming the tag end off once that knot's down and they're both together. So we'll give that a bit of a trim. So that's cut off, and then you end up with your nice small knot. And like I say, a lot of people doubt this knot just because it looks simple, and like any knot, if you get hold of it in your hands and pull it, you know, you'll probably put in 20-30 pounds of pressure on that, and to actually do that physically through a fishing rod when you'll say, I don't know, say 100-120 yards out, it's very hard to do. And I've had, you know, had to take steps backwards when I've been winding down for a break, and that's using 12-pound line. So it is a strong knot. So if you haven't tried it, give it a go. It's nice on a fixed ball as well because it gives you a decent knot if you're still using a normal leader as opposed to a tapered leader. So we'll pop some leader on. I normally go for around sort of 4 or 5 turns on the reel, length of the rod, and then probably the length of my drop out, which will say 7 or 8 foot. Cut it off, and then we're going to pop a genie link on the end of it, which is one of those. I always stick with the Gemini ones just because I know they're strong. There's a few cheaper copies out there, so just be careful with the ones you use. But for me, just a Gemini one, and then I can just clip a lead straight on. And then when I'm fishing, I can clip my rigs on and off as well. So we'll get that put on. Yeah, right, we're up on the prom, so we'll get this put on the rod, and then we're going to have a few casts. What we're going to do, we're not going to do any fancy editing or anything. We're just literally going to we've taken it out of the box, we've filled it out with line. We've done nothing else to it, so it's going to be a bit of a voyage of discovery. So we'll see. I'm going to wind the magnets on first. I'm basically going to show you how I would do it. So obviously with this, that's your magnet adjustment there. So when it's fully screwed clockwise, the magnets are fully on. We'll get this set up and we'll give it a go. So I'm going to start with it fully on. There's no play in the spool. If there's a bit of play, you can tighten that up a touch. Normally on my reels, I'll have a small amount of play just in the spool, but because it's new and we're setting it up, we don't want to go too far straight away. Obviously we've got new line on there as well, so it's always best to have a few gentle casts just to get the line laid on, and then we'll see how the reel's running, and then we can make some adjustments to the magnets from there. So we'll get it thread up through. Clip the lead on. And then we're just going to give it a gentle couple of casts. Number one, obviously just to get the line laid on because it's new line, and sometimes if you've got loose loops, if you've been filling it, that can cause a bit of a bird's nest. But obviously as well, we want to see how it's running. So straight out of the box, we'll give it a quick cast. Right, so we've got the magnets wound on, then the end float up, so let's give it a jump. So, nice and gentle to start with. Oh, really good. You can feel, obviously we've got the magnets tightened right on, which you can feel, because when you cast, and it almost feels like the reel's pulling where it's running quite slowly, but no issues, and certainly not running too fast at the moment. Like I said, we've got the magnets set fully on, so that gives us plenty of scope to wind them off gradually until we find where we're happy with. So we'll get this one in, and I'm going to adjust both sides. Obviously I screwed the end plate, or the adjustment just under the reel seat there, quite tight. So we're going to take a couple of notches off that until we feel the reel release a little bit, and then I'll start winding down the magnets. And say hopefully, like I do with my other reels, we'll get it to the point where we can wind the magnets off during the cast, which is the big bonus about having the adjustment. That was always the problem before with the last 2 models. Obviously it's a dial, and it's quite hard to adjust that once it's going out, but with the knob, same as a lot of tournament reels really, it's easy access. So we're going to wind that down a couple. I'm actually going to take that a couple of, well, we'll take it 3 clicks off, and we'll give it another cast and see how it feels. So we're not trying to hit France, we're just trying to get more of an idea of what the reel's doing. Right, so you can definitely feel they're making a difference as far as just loosening that spool cap off. and the magnets as well. So I think what we'll do, we'll wind that, the adjustment there underneath the handle. We'll take that off a couple more turns. We don't want to make it too loose because we're trying to keep it balanced, so we don't want to unscrew that all the way. But it feels really good. Unlike the previous models as well, they're solid reels to be fair, which is why you can get away with using them on clean ground and in the rough. They run really well. But yeah, so far so good. We've had no issues with the line lifting. That's why it's always important to have those couple of casts just to get it laid on properly. So next cast we'll take a little bit more off the end of the reel, but then we'll also undo the magnets a couple of turns as well. And then we'll hopefully be somewhere near getting it where we want it for fishing really. So that's almost in. So exactly the same again. I'm going to undo that a couple of turns. So I've done 3 turns on that. I've done 4 turns on that side. So we should be getting somewhere near it now. So we'll have another car. That's lovely. Really, really good. That runs fantastic. You can tell they're well set up. There's no screaming of the reel as it goes out. So they obviously come well oiled and set up, and we've got the spool fairly well balanced. Don't get me wrong, I'm no tournament caster and I don't know everything about reels, but to me that feels like a well balanced reel. So now we've got a bit of adjustment. I think what we'll do, I think that's feels right for the start of the cast. So now we're going to have a go just winding those magnets off a little bit as it goes out. So the problem with the original versions, they were brilliant and they were bulletproof, but you always had quite a jump. I used to cast mine with the magnets full on. You'd move it 1 notch and it would just blow up. So as the models have progressed over the years, you've got more and more control, and this one is obviously the best of the bunch so far for me as far as this magnetic control goes. So I'm going to start it on the same setting, but as it goes out I'm going to adjust that, and then we'll see what difference it makes. Just for me, it's something personal I do. I know a few guys that do it. You don't have to do it, but for me, once that lead's on its way, I think you gain a few yards if you can get away with it just by releasing those magnets a bit more. Obviously, normally if you're going to get a bird's nest, it's in the initial part of the cast when that lead first goes away, because the reel's running so fast. Obviously the rev slowed down, the line's still coming off the spool, and that's what can cause your bird's nest. But say so far all seems good. So I'm going to cast that exactly the same just now, but now during the cast I'm going to wind the magnets off and we'll see how we go. So there's no point in turning it straight off, it's just going to be a gradual thing. So we'll see how we get on. But it's going really well. Wow, really good. Really pleased with that. Getting good distance. I've wound those magnets fully off now. Now obviously, where we've started tonight, I haven't got an indicator as to where I started on the cast. So what personally I would do, a bit of Tipp-Ex. Once I find a spot where I'm happy for it to cast, so I was about 4 notches off, I'll put a dot of Tipp-Ex on there, a dot of Tipp-Ex on there as well, and then I know every time after I've cast out, when I'm winding in, I can return that magnet to exactly the same place, so it's in the same place at the start of each cast, and then you've got no worries then, and then you know you can wind it off. But the reel's brilliant. I think it's great. You can definitely feel the difference as you wind the magnets off, so the adjustment's doing its job. And it's quite nice, you've got the whole range of adjustment, as I said, through just 1 turn of the reel, 1 turn of the knob on the end there. So you can't get lost by unscrewing it too far and not being able to return it to its original position when you start the cast. So I think they've got it bang on, really. So for me, most of my fishing's done with either 12 or 15 pound line, 12 pound most of the time. So the 515s have got plenty of capacity. I mean, I'm getting nowhere near emptying that with just a plain lead, so you're never going to get near it with bait. Not for me anyway. So I think for the majority of us, the 515 is fine, but obviously it's got the same retrieve as the 525, but it's just a slightly smaller capacity. So if you were fishing somewhere, broken ground, perhaps at the channel, you may want to step up to 18 or 20 pound, then it probably would be worth going for the 525. But for me, the 515s, yeah, it feels great. Really good bit of kit, and we kind of had that impression that it was always missing that ease of adjustment. But obviously Penn have listened to people and they've sorted it, so really impressed. So we'll have one more cast. So I've returned that now to where I think it was in the original part of the cast. I'm going to undo that a fraction, just a couple more notches, because I can just feel it's just a touch slow. And then we'll give it a good cast, and yeah, and see how we get on. Brilliant. Yeah, really good. Really pleased with that. I'm sure I've let that run a little bit, but I just wanted to see what it would do. Yeah, really good. I wouldn't run it that fast, to be fair, using bait, but it's just interesting with a lead, just to see how it goes. But yeah, I've got no complaints with the reel. It's brilliant. You can feel the adjustment there, which is the main thing. So it's all available through just that one turn of the handle as well, one turn of the end spool, so that's important. Yeah, really good bit of kit. I thoroughly recommend it, to be honest. Obviously there's 6.5 size reels out there that people play about with and get to run stupidly fast, but for me, for fishing, I can see me moving all my reels over to these, because providing you give them a rinse after you use them, they're going to last. All Penns are built like tanks, to be fair, and I've got no reason to think this is otherwise. But yeah, give them a go, or come in the shop and have a chat with us. But I hope that's gone a way to explain obviously the benefits of it and having the ease of the magnet control in the end. And hopefully we showed you that they are straight out of the box a good reel. All right.